I'm going to start this from the beginning.
What is up, everyone? I hope you're all doing well. Blizzard sent me an email recently trying to sell me some of their store mounts, and that just ticked all my boxes. So it's time for me to get a little bit passionate about World of Warcraft's most recent casino shitshow exclusive and expansion, and the terrible state of the game that is cosmetics of Mountcraft. BFA was shit at launch, and 8.1 has done nothing, absolutely nothing, to address the core problems with the game. And instead of content, what does Blizzard give the players? Another fucking store mount, with a unique model that they clearly spent some time on. I personally think the mount looks ridiculous and not at all like it belongs in World of Warcraft, more like something they kidnapped from some Japanese anime. It's like that fox mount with wings. The people that buy these fucking mounts are the ones who give Blizzard an excuse to time and time again bend the player base over a barrel and fuck them in the ass with the schlong of microtransactions.
So I restarted it. For that is like so true, and that's why I've got like some shit in my eye. That's like if you ever wanted to like make I don't know examine how Activision has maybe affected Blizzard, the store mounts and shit like that, or it's just as a like to have evidence that a corporation is ruining a game because of greed. The store mount shit is a perfect example. And they're just constantly pumping out these new mounts and store shit for people to buy and stuff like that because the income. And it seems like they're more concerned about that sort of shit than the actual content.
The Battle for Dazara lore releases on the 22nd of January, which very conveniently is just over a month after the release of 8.1, just to ensure that if someone was stupid enough to resubscribe for 8.1, Blizzard could get an extra month out of them before they release the raid. Blizzard needs some tough love. The essence of the problems the game has is the core philosophy behind how the game is being designed. Blizzard has obviously evolved as a company along with the rest of the gaming industry since they initially released World of Warcraft, and while no one can really blame them for that, the philosophy behind World of Warcraft also clearly changed. Blizzard has of course been heading down this path for a while, and I am under no illusions that they will keep going in this direction until they have run the game into the fucking ground.
And let's be clear, the reason why Classic is coming out is it was a financially based decision. One, how many subs that they're losing with their current they announced the expansion back during Legion, right? So they realized how fast they were losing subs. They're losing subs even faster now. They didn't come up with Classic because they wanted to, make everybody happy. They want to have you these people that they've lost their subscriptions or that have stopped subscribing. They want those people back. That's why
I seem to think that Cataclysm was the start of WoW's downfall. But when looking at the mindset that is killing WoW,
it was in Wrath of the Lich King. Before he even says it, it was not Cataclysm that destroyed. That's not when it started. It was in late Wrath of the Lich King. Let's see if that's what he says.
It really came into play in Wrath of the Lich King, especially the second half of it.
Yep.
I wonder what could have happened in the summer of 2000.
Was it looking for groups? Dungeon Finder? Let's see if that's what his answers, but that's the big one for me.
Some months before the release of Wrath, that would make Blizzard completely change their philosophy.
Oh, okay. So he's saying it was Activision. Yeah. But however, did they not come out with... I wonder if that would have had an effect on like LFG and stuff like that. But this is... When did they really start to pump out the store shit? Like, I've never paid attention to when store shit comes out. But I'm wondering if this is if it's around that time. I know they had a store long before this. Anyways.
Philosophy for the game. The moment they started angling the game towards accessibility, people left. At the launch of Wrath, which was notorious for having easy dungeons and raids in the beginning because accessibility, you can see the subscription numbers flatlining until the later part of the expansion when Ulduar and ICC was released and Cataclysm was announced. The game basically cut out its own content by introducing features like LFD in Wrath and LFR in Cata. Talk about shooting yourself in the goddamn foot, Blizzard. making the game accessible doesn't work.
Sounds good, doesn't work.
Because making the game accessible sacrifices the feeling of exclusivity, and exclusivity breeds desire. The game has adapted to the players instead of making the players adapt to the game.
This was something that I was watching when Tips was watching the Q&A today. This was something that Tips was actually mentioning, is that allowing everybody to just play the game easily does not drive people to play the game. It makes it boring to play. So what this guy's saying is basically the same thing. I agree with that, actually. Like when I saw somebody that was in, like a full top tier raid set, making it easy for me to get that didn't drive my desire to get it. Like I was like, oh, that's easy to get. But being able to say that I'm one of the few people that has it, and then be able to stand, by the bank in Orgrimmar, that would drive you to do it. And
Blizzard isn't making the players achieve or holding them to a standard. Instead, they let the players decide their own standard, which of course isn't very high, as people will always take the path of least resistance. And here we have one of the obvious mistakes Blizzard is making, which is appealing to the people in the community that want everything for no investment, as this is earning them nothing. These are not the type of players to invest themselves in anything anyways. These are the players that will baby rage and check out the moment they don't get what they want just by fucking pointing at it, and will go trying to wind their way through some other game instead. When these are the people you are tailoring the rewards of the game around, no wonder you are having problems retaining players. They are absolute children and should be treated as such by Blizzard and by the community as a whole. I know a popular line is that because you paid for the game, you should somehow have access to all of the content. Really? Are you serious? That is the stupidest shit I have heard. You do not buy a single player game to go straight to fighting the end boss and finishing the story, do you? So why the hell would you expect all the content from World of Warcraft without investing the time? You are paying for the journey, not to go to the destination. You are paying for a chance to progress through the content, not to complete it. If the game is too demanding for you, then go play something else. This is the whole point Blizzard is fucking up. The game should be about the journey. That's the meat of the game right there. Content should be tiered, and not all the content should be for all the players. Rating should be for the best and most dedicated PvEers, heroic dungeons a step below that, normal dungeons below that again, and then at the bottom you have PvP.
Well, PvP and PvE are on two separate, but the top PvPers should have their own separate gear as well.
Like I said,
I think Zaru on his stream, I think it was last night or the night before, he was mentioning that he thinks that the shoulders that you get, I think he was saying that you get it at like 2200 rating or 2400 rating. He said that's way too low. Like, in order to get these shoulders, it should be like 2700 rating. Like, you should really 2200 rating apparently is not that hard to get. I've never had it, but it's apparently not that hard to get. So I agree. Like, the
keeping
harder,
some content exclusive.
There's got to be something where you can desire to achieve it so that you can strut around
based on investment into the game creates an incentive and a drive to invest time and effort into improving so that you can eventually qualify to do that more exclusive content. Instead, Blizzard gives players access to all the different endgame content without demanding any investment in return, and then throw shit like the 6-month subscription mount at them before they realize how fucking devoid of substance the
Okay, how many of you have this 6-month subscription route? I almost bought it because I was like, you know what? I'm going to be subscribed for 6 more months because Classic's going to come out anyways, and I have to have something to stream. I almost bought it myself, but I haven't yet.
Game is and leave! Some of the players themselves are just as big a part of the problem here, in my opinion. Instead of realizing what I've just fucking explained, they instead cry for more easy content that can't be too time-consuming, because they have a job, and then therefore Blizzard can't really make content that feels gratifying in
Nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's once in my life too.
the long run, since some players want a medal for absolutely anything they do in the game. And then afterwards, the community sits there and wonder why the game feels unrewarding and boring, and why players are leaving the game in droves. And the way to keep the casual players invested and interested in the game is not by making the higher-end content like Mythic and Mythic Plus dungeons, raids, or even heroics accessible by pulling the requirements for those types of content down to a casual level. It's instead to make the content that has now become trivial actually matter. Keep raiding and heroic and mythic dungeons for the more hardcore and invested players. You can't have it all. So a compromise would...
You know what I personally hate, and I mentioned this in Tipstream? I've hated it since they launched it, that you can get, they used to allow you to do this. You can get like the raid coins, so that if you finish a raid you get like 3 coins. Remember when they started that shit? And you would eventually be able to buy your stuff off of a vendor. I hate that. If the boss doesn't drop what you're hoping he dropped, you need to go back and fight that boss again until he drops it. I hate the idea that you have to, because you complete a dungeon, somehow you mysteriously get this virtual coin that you can buy from a vendor in town. Like, it's just, yeah, bags of justice and stuff like that. Like, it's just stupid. Like, the loot is on the boss. It's not off some fucking vendor in town. Leave it on the boss. Force people to go back and finish the raid. And then that way, when somebody in your guild gets that, like when your tank gets that shield or that weapon that he really needs that will really help improve the raid or improve your guild's chances at finishing, the raid going forward, everybody's excited. Like, I hated it when they changed it. I just don't like it at all. For PvP, like the way that they do it in PvP, I don't mind it for that. But for raiding, if it doesn't drop off the boss, you didn't get it. I'm sorry. You need to come back with your guild the next week. End of story.
Be to make content like leveling, gold making, normal dungeons, reputations, dailies, etc. viable for progressing your character. This would still make the casual players, at least the unentitled ones, get something out of the game without sacrificing higher level content like raiding and heroic dungeons on the altar of accessibility. This change in philosophy for the game is very, very evident. There used to be server communities. You had a name that mattered and that you had to build for yourself. You had to evolve and become good as a player to achieve.
I'm so looking forward to there being server communities again when Classic comes out. Like, one of the great things about Classic is you knew other people. Like, I remember like certain warriors that used to stand in Orgrimmar, and you'd sit there and just be like, and he was like the shit of the server. Or people in Battlegrounds and stuff like that, although they had cross server and stuff like that eventually anyways. But it was people in the world that you killed. You'd see that, it would be that same fucking rogue that would kill you all the fucking time, and you learn to hate these people. I can't wait for that.
People might exclaim that, oh no, that's too much like real life, and I'm playing this game because I want a break from real life. No, you don't. Humans are programmed to find satisfaction from being socially, professionally, financially successful, etc. You want to be well-liked socially. You want to have a good reputation. You want to be fit and muscular. You want to be good at your job, because in real life, garnering these traits would get you a nice car, a promotion, a hot girlfriend. A nice life, garnering these traits would get you a nice car.
Like my dream vehicle there. I had a 68, but it wasn't that's a nice looking car.
A promotion, a hot girlfriend.
Wait, did he show a picture?
A nice house.
He didn't show a picture.
And a big bank account balance. But this obviously
this guy, is that pennies? Hold on.
Hot girlfriend, a nice house, and a big bank.
It's like a wheelbarrow full of pennies
account
or something.
Balance. But this obviously requires that you put in the work for it, like becoming pleasant, funny, and charismatic, like working out to build muscle, working a lot to become good at your job, taking care of and maintaining your reputations, etc. All of these require consistent effort.
Your reputation on your server mattered. Like, you remember how there used to be websites for people that were blacklisted if they like ninja looted or something like that. Like, there were websites dedicated to this shit. Like, your reputation on your server mattered. You couldn't change your name. There wasn't anything that you could do. If you got put on this list and it was like a valid, like you fucked people over, you didn't raid again.
Over time. over time. In World of Warcraft, you want to be well liked by the people you play with, or by your guild. You want a good reputation on the server. You want to be good at your class, and you want to be knowledgeable about the game, because this will get you invited to raids or dungeons. And instead of a car, it will get you a title.
Milksteak, thank you, dude. Miss you, buddy. Soon enough, we'll all be playing together. Everybody from Milksteak stream, welcome. We're watching an essay. World of Warcraft is garbage. It's a YouTube video that was linked to me. We're about a third of the way through, and this guy's just going off on a freaking rant. Let me hold on. Where's the link? Let me put the link up. Copy link address. I'll put it in chat for you guys, Milksteak, or if any of you guys want to watch it later. But we're about a third of the way through, so we'll continue watching. But thanks for the host, dude. I do appreciate that.
Instead of a girlfriend, it'll get you a nice mount. Instead of a promotion, it will get you a spot on a raiding team. And just like you would work out to build muscle, you would put in effort in the game to earn better gear. Video games takes the same psychology which direct humans in real life and imitates it in a video game. It gives you rewards for investing time into it. It dresses it up, but that is the essence.
Problem though is too many people want rewards too easily. That's the problem.
Of it. The games simply give players a sense of accomplishment, just like doing well in real life would, only at a different scale, obviously. And the better the game is at imitating this feeling of accomplishment found in the real world, the better the games will do at keeping people invested. And with investment comes dedication, and dedication, in turn, encourages continued investment. It's a circle. A circle!
Time
A very addictive circle.
has like a corner. In the end,
Instant gratification gaming
Blizzard
culture,
has
that's
basically
correct.
become the type of people who want to give all the kids who play in a football tournament a trophy just for participating, and then wonder why no one wants to play football. Fun fact, you know what the kids do with those trophies? They throw them away, because they hold no value for them, because they know they got the trophy for doing something completely trivial and unimpressive. Now isn't that a striking parallel? The game currently seems...
It's kind of the
World of Warcraft's
shit.
most recent
Where did
casino
I
shit show.
just fast forward it?
And that combined with taking on the early design, even though that will surely be part of it, Yoda of actual content is what the rating and the Mythic Plus is aimed at. This makes the game very top and bottom heavy with nothing in the middle, and it doesn't help that the content at the top and bottom is the most soulless, minimum effort piece of shit since No Man's Sky or pretty much all of the Assassin's Creeds made in the past 8 years. Requiescat pace, am I right? Blizzard's attitude towards rewards is completely wrong. During Legion, there was 121 mounts available to obtain.
121 mounts. It's just gotten a little...
mounts in a 2-year expansion. BFA launched with 42 mounts, and patch 8.1 alone brings 20 plus mounts to the game, but not a fucking iota of actual content.
What the fuck?
So many mounts in the game are ridiculously over the top, and half of them also look so out of place and not at all like they belong in the Warcraft universe. Mounts themselves as a reward is not a bad thing, and a lot of them look great, and you have to credit the art team for their work.
That's true.
But you can't...
Everybody, myself included, has gone like searching for mounts. There's certain mounts that I have that I'm glad I went out and got, but some of them just look ridiculous. Like it's become like a Japanimation game.
Cannot make the entire reward structure about mounts and cosmetics. They're way too shallow for that. And like with anything else, overexposure will diminish the value of them. People stop finding them special. Blizzard has to make the game about prestige again, not specifically the gear or the appearances, even though that will surely be part of it, but about the prestige behind succeeding in the game. Make it desirable to earn a piece of gear, not for the stats or for the appearance, even though, like I said, that is also a factor, but for the prestige of having acquired that piece of gear.
Yeah,
The
even though those fucking warriors, sometimes they looked ridiculous, or whatever, some class looked ridiculous in the armor set that they had, it was a sign that they got up to a certain tier of rating, and you could look up to them and say, fuck, that guy's finished whatever in whatever raid when you have it.
reward comes from within each individual player, and it cannot be forced by throwing meaningless rewards like mounts or transmogs at them.
How do you think here's a question for you, for those of you that are watching the stream. How do you think, and if I put this video up on YouTube, you can answer it as well, but how do you think people would react if they suddenly took transmogs out of the game? If they just suddenly said, nope, transmogs are gone, you cannot use any transmogs from anything that you gain from this point forward, or like, you think people would lose their minds? Or, I mean, everybody's got transmog gear, right? Like, everybody that's playing has probably transmogged their gear. All of my characters, basically all of my mains, they're transmogged.
Blizzard needs to go deeper. I'm not saying the rewards have to change.
Hold on.
Blizzard needs to go deeper.
Yeah, it's who I thought it was. If you don't know who this is, you probably don't watch a lot of, we'll call them movies, but she's pretty famous. Seen her a few times.
I'm not saying the rewards have to change back to the way it was in vanilla BC, etc., even though that would be a great start. I think the philosophy of how to reward players needs to change back to what it was in the early days of WoW. Blizzard has every opportunity to innovate and come up with some new systems for rewards in the game. And that, combined with taking on the early design and reward philosophies for the game, is the solution to Blizzard's little player retention problem. It's not really hard to see where Blizzard is putting their effort in creating rewards. Blizzard has started putting an emphasis on rewards like mounts, pets, or cosmetics in general to compensate for the fact that the game lacks any and all feeling of accomplishment. So instead of having demanding, time-consuming content, which gave you a sense of accomplishment, you now have transmog and mounts.
Think about that. Do people, like, I don't do high-end ratings, so I'm not the right person to ask, but when people that are doing high-end rating, do you think that they prefer getting new mounts as opposed to getting a new item for a transmog? Like, which is more important to those raiders? I'm not talking about like necessarily like a mount from that raid. I'm just talking about like what do you think they prefer? A nice new flashy mount, or the transmog from that dungeon to prove to people that they actually went through that dungeon?
This is why I think a lot of people who played the game back in the day, like moi, don't really consider cosmetics or mounts worthwhile rewards.
Yeah, actually, hold on. Let's talk about that. A lot of people were upset about no mount. Oh, and Aldir, you're saying. See, I rated in Aldir, but I just didn't care at that point. Like, I was already done with BFA. But a lot of people were furious. Wasn't it an in-game mount that people were furious that they didn't get for BlizzCon? No, it's for the online BlizzCon subscription or whatever it was, right? $60. People were furious that people got access to the classic demo rather than getting a mount. Is that not what they were pissed off about? Like, they're like, oh, they spend $60 and all they're doing is they get a fucking classic demo. We don't even get a fucking mount. Like, people were fucking up in arms, especially the Facebook person.
Be real, World of Warcraft is no longer an RPG.
She just went
off. It is a
off.
fucking collection game. I think this explains why the game feels so shallow and not at all worth it. And not just for me. Every single person that I consider a friend that has played World of Warcraft at some point has quit the game. Some started in vanilla, some started in BC, some in Wrath, some in Kata, and even some in Mr. Pandaria. They all have the same issues with.
Okay, so the guild that I came to World of Warcraft with, Excellent, who's in chat, was part of that guild. Excellent, how many people from that guild do you know of that are still playing? And keep in mind, that guild, we played together for like going on 15 years or something like that. But by the time World of Warcraft came out, so 2004, we were playing together for 7 years, and we were power gamers at the time. We were the players that, you know, we had a part-time job, and then we played video games the rest of the day, every day. And we came into World of Warcraft probably 40, 50, maybe 60 strong. Excellent. You're saying how many people are playing WoW? I'd say casually. You're saying none. I know of at least 3. So there's myself. I'm not playing BFA content though. I'm doing Project 70 because BFA sucks. Excellent, are you still playing? That would be 2. Plus Thorin, Otto, and Znath. That might be 5. And I don't know that their subscriptions are still active. But that's 5 people of the 60 or so, 50 or 60. Oh, Kaz might still be playing too. I still see him log on. So that might be 6. I don't know that there's more. Maybe Ferbs might activate his account once in a while. I think he's going to play Classic. I'm not sure. But very few.
With the game. It's shallow, it's stale, it's just cosmetics, it's unrewarding, there's no community, etc., etc. I can go on for fucking ever. And these are the people that love the game.
What about like effects? So for those of you that are very pro Classic, do you like the spell effects that they have now compared to Classic? Now ask yourself this. If they had the spell effects that they have now, but they had them back in Classic, would you have been blown away at the time? Or are you just somebody who prefers anything Classic above what's out now? PvP is the only thing keeping me subbed. Nothing is keeping me subbed to WoW except for this stream. I've said that many times on stream. I need some content to stream. If I wasn't a streamer, I would not be subbed right now. I'd be waiting for Classic. You find the old ones more fitting. The new Shadowbolt is garbage. Back what? But the simplicity of vanilla were so clean in their own way. I love vanilla, but I throw that question out as a like to play devil's advocate, right? Because a lot of people are like, I hate everything to do with BFA. But if you ask them, hey, if your chain lightning looked like it did on this shaman, for example, would you prefer that compared to the old chain lightning?
And these are the people that love the game and that would pull all-nighters with me on the weekends to play World of Warcraft back in the day. They have all completely lost interest. And the story, oh my god, this story. I don't know if I even want to think about it.
So Milksteak's in chat and he says that he's considering playing old school RuneScape as an alternative. I never played old school RuneScape, so I'm not going to go to that. But
what has become of the World of Warcraft story breaks my fucking heart. It's absolute trash. I mean, like, The Last Jedi trash. It's a fucking tragedy. And what happened to...
The Last Jedi was a great movie.
Great timeless stories like Illidan and Arthas. And I don't think Blizzard needs to rehash old stories to make WoW good, but we go from Arthas to fucking spaceships and time travel? The story now consists of scripted story quests and cinematics or cutscenes that give you all the story right there. Again, demanding nothing from the players. See a theme here? Cause I fucking do. There is a line in cinema: show, don't tell. Make the audience draw their own conclusions. You used to have to read quests. And yes, you had some cutscenes here and there, but they were mostly aimed at the climax of the story.
I've never read quests. Even in vanilla, I didn't read quests. Unless I was like lost and I was like, okay, what am I doing? And then I'd read the quest.
Not the building of it. The rest, the players had to piece together from doing the content. Remember that? Content? The story is straight up lazy and uninspired. The game, and more specifically, the expansion, needs a villain. A full-on villain from start to stop with an entire story behind them that the players can explore and learn during the expansion. Someone the players can invest themselves in fighting. Like in Arthas, or at least in part in Illidan. Arthas was the best done villain of the game. Yes, it's a cliche story, but he had personality and character. He had a huge backstory. Instead, we get the Shah, Gul'dan, and the Burning Legion all fucking over again. I am so fucking done with demons at this point. I swear I have demon fatigue. The magic of the game was that you were a nobody. You were nothing when you started.
You are nothing!
And you worked your way.
This is exactly what we were talking about. What was it, like an hour ago when we were talking about this? That when we started the game, part of the draw was that you were this nobody. You were, you had to rise up and defeat these really, nasty monsters, and now there's fucking spaceships and you're some cosmic warrior, and it's so true. So true. Same as like when do you remember when you played D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, pen and paper games, and you would start off as a character like level 1? It was like when you were developing that character that Dungeons and Dragons was really fucking cool. It wasn't when you became like this fucking like level whatever where you could just flick your finger and destroy someone. That wasn't interesting. Maybe Dungeons and Dragons is still a thing, right?
Way up to becoming a champion of the Horde.
Yeah, Zafe, I just couldn't remember who said it, but it was
now
probably
you. Are the savior of all things, the chosen one, the speaker of the Horde, the one saving the world. Again, that shit gets really tiresome. Games have told that story for decades. World of Warcraft used to not put you up as the one and only. You were one
part of a team,
many, scrambling together to defeat the bad guys. Blizzard is now handing out gear as if they had gear Tourette's, and have completely devalued gear as a reward. In vanilla, raid bosses drop 2 to 3 pieces of gear for 40 people. That gear was special. It was a hell.
And you got excited. Like you got legitimately excited when you played in vanilla. I hope it's the same way in classic when it comes out. I think it will be. But when you played in vanilla and there was 2 items that dropped, yes, you hope that you got the item that you were looking for. But you were really excited for those people that got that, an item as well, because you knew that if they got an upgrade, it was going to make doing the dungeons or the raid a little bit easier the next time, and then eventually you would have that raid on farm and everybody would get their gear. Whereas now you just sign up that you're looking for a raid, the people that you're raiding with you don't even fucking know, and you're just pissed off that somebody else got stuff and you got nothing. It doesn't mean fucking shit anymore, and there's probably a very good chance that you're not going to fucking ever raid with the same people again.
Of a reward. Epic gear was epic. Getting gear was a big deal instead of getting bukkakied on with gear in retail. The gear itself has also become so streamlined, gear no longer has any unique traits like chance on hit or specific class related abilities. They even removed tier sets, for God's sakes. Can you name any regular piece of gear you have in the stats it features and how you...
Quick. Ask that question. Can you name any regular piece of gear that you have? I rated in Alodar. I can't name a single fucking piece from Alodar. I can't name a single piece. Can anyone in chat? The millions and millions of you in chat. Can any of you guys name it? If I post this video, can any of you name a single piece of gear? If I post this video, put down in the comments whether or not you can name a single piece of gear or whether you couldn't. You just helped the fucking nobody. Yeah, exactly. Nobody in chat is saying that they can name a single piece of gear. That's...
Got it?
I wasn't a huge raider in vanilla, and I've ever since Wrath of the Lich King, I've regretted the fact that I never rated hardcore in vanilla. It was all about PvP for me. All about PvP, but I know people that raided in vanilla that can name every set from every raid in vanilla, Burning Crusade, and even some of them up until the Wrath of the Lich King. But they can't name anything that they're wearing now. That's crazy.
They have turned gearing into a soulless slot machine that gives you nothing memorable or unique. Gear is now just your item level, nothing less, nothing more. I mean, one of the main ways of receiving gear, the mythic caches and PvP caches, are basically loot boxes that give you a completely random piece of gear regardless of whether you need it or want it. Players don't have to improve their skill level at all to access content. And even for higher content, they can get into it as long as they have the fucking eye level. They don't have to join a guild. They don't have to prove themselves at all.
You don't even have to get to know anyone. People make a group, they post an item level requirement, and boom, people start joining.
Is boiled down to a fucking number. You used to be able to map out the gear you wanted or needed for your character, or make a BIS list. This made players point out their own goals and milestones in the process of gearing up. This gave you smaller goals you could continuously work towards and achieve.
And not only that, but to get that best in slot gear, you would group up with people that you knew, you would go collect it, you would work tirelessly, endlessly, day and night, trying to get the best in slot gear so you can get into raids, and you would help all these people. I can honestly say that of the people, we'll take streaming out of it. So people that I met through streaming, completely different. But people that I've met in game, I don't think I've met somebody in game that I've stayed friends with since probably Wrath. There are people that I know from vanilla Burning Crusade that I'm still friends with, that are still friends on my friends list, that some of them are friends of mine on Facebook, but nobody since Wrath. And gee, what happened in Wrath and in Cataclysm? Why did I not continue to get to know people?
Other goals related to gear could be hitting expertise cap or hit cap. Remember that? I had no idea how much I would miss hit until right now. It wasn't terribly exciting to work on your hit cap, but fuck me did it feel good to get hit capped. And just to know that now you would never miss with an ability. That made you feel like you were progressing and becoming more powerful, little by little. Systems now are designed around you just logging in every day. Daily rewards, Azerite grind, world quest, dungeons, the goddamn mission table, which should...
This stuff just pisses me off. Like, this mission table, just... Like, seriously, any of the shit where they... Like, you can just sit in fucking town or in your garrison and just do this shit... This stuff, it destroyed the game because it allowed people to just sit in town and do, same as that's why LFG, LFR, like, it destroyed the world of World of Warcraft because you never see anyone out questing. It destroyed it.
Should be obliterated, and they all feel like a chore. Azerite traits are boring and generic and apparently a balancing nightmare. The Heart of Azeroth is just a plain compulsory grind. Reputations are all the same, and you do them all in the same damn way. They don't provide anything of use, a few pieces of gear that's obsolete within the first 2 weeks. They do let you qualify for flying, though, which lets you blast through the little content there is to do in the game even faster. And guess what else they give you? For 10 points, that's right, more mounts. Every bit of content they've introduced this expansion has been largely hated by the community, and for good reason. Warfronts is the most pathetic piece of content I have ever seen make its way into the World of Warcraft.
So stupid.
And the icing on the cake is that it guarantees you gear. And you can't lose! By the way, have you noticed that the so-called content that is being developed by Blizzard is mostly instanced? PvP is instanced, raiding is instanced, Dungeons and Mythic Plus are instanced, islands are instanced, Warfronts are, you guessed it, instanced. Now, I do not mind the game using instances for some of the content, like raids for example, but all of it? Doesn't seem very MMO, does it? Especially not very fitting for a game that calls itself the World of Warcraft. And what does the incredible waste of time that is AFK fronts come with? You guessed it, fucking mounts. Island invasions are ridiculously boring. I have absolutely no goddamn clue how someone at Blizzard decided that...
Literally everything you do in game is boring. It's not just... Like, literally everything in game. I only got up to Alodar. I didn't... for raiding, I couldn't be bothered. But constantly do it...
This is a great idea. Wow, brilliant. Islands. Even better, let's make it a pretty much mandatory for people to keep their necklaces up to date. I'm sure the players will love that.
You fucking idiot!
It comes down to AoEing mobs in packs for Azerite. Azerite. That's what it gives you. You know what else it gives you? More fucking mounts. They are intentionally making the game more about you and only you instead of about playing on the dynamics of the community. And they are twisting the game systems inwards towards the player instead of outwards towards the community.
Here's a question. What do you need to do in game? Is there anything that you need to do in game that requires the help of other people? Like, I'm not talking like you can raid, but I'm talking about like a close group of people that you can rely on to help you get shit done. Like raiding, any of that stuff, you can just, open up a, raid finder and get a group. You don't need like any close friends. It's basically become a single player game. Yeah, just LFG it. Like, is there anything in game anymore where like, I remember coming home from school or whatever, and logging in, needing people to help me get shit done, and like it's just, you don't have that anymore. You don't have a like any need to depend on other people to help get shit done, or them depend on you. It's just a single player game now. You can play the whole game and not get to know anyone at all anymore. It's a fucking joke.
Like LFR and LFD before it, which removed having to use the community to find players to do content with, they have made the community aspect of the game utterly obsolete.
They should. I was saying they should make the raid single player. Why not? Just have NPCs raid with you. Why not? You know, I'm tired of having to look for, use LFG. That's too much work now. Why can't I just do a raid with like 39 followers?
Another example of this is the Master Loot change, where they removed Master Loot and instead implemented Personal Loot for all aspects of the game. It's like they want players sitting in their own little box, queuing up in some fucking group finder, being part of the community of the server and the guild that you played with, and building your character with them. That was the game, man. That was the game. The allied races are a neat idea, but again, they're just cosmetics. They don't do anything unique of significance, just like all the other races in the game at this fucking point. They are just another cosmetic for Blizzard to use as an excuse for real content and real rewards. Races used to, and should have, significant traits that make them differ from each other. How, for example, trolls had extra bow skill back in the day, making them great hunters. Humans used to have greater stealth detection, and increased expertise with dagger and swords, making them great rogues. The races as well as the classes need to stand out more. The classes are too simple. They are no longer unique. The classes all feel the goddamn same. Mana is pretty much trivial and has no real effect on gameplay besides for healers. The classes no longer have uniquenesses that make them stand out. And everyone has alts now. That should speak to the lack of content in the game. People lack interest and don't feel invested and connected to their main characters, so they make alts in an attempt to fix this. Obviously, it doesn't fix the problem, it only postpones it. Look at Vanilla WoW. Players would get very invested in the one or few characters they have.
Okay, so here's a question about the new races. You had to go and do the rep grinds and stuff like that for the new races, right? Have they eliminated that yet? And have they... or are they talking about eliminating it? You know there's going to come a time where they get rid of that because people are complaining that they're tired that they have to go back and do Legion content. Is there any talk of them eliminating that?
And it made them garner a sort of pride for their character. Same as with faction pride on PvP realms, as you were tied to making characters on only one faction. And leveling used to actually be...
Okay, that is something they better keep. Like you on your account, you can't have more than you can't play more than one faction on a server. They better not allow that. I'm pretty sure they won't, but I'm just saying that's something I'm a little nervous about.
Be part of the game. Now it's all heirlooms and experience boosts. Or guess what? You can simply buy your way to the newest expansion. How are players supposed to feel invested in their character from that? It took me over a month to hit my first max level character when I started playing. I still have that character. I love that guy. And even though I haven't mained him since Cataclysm, he is still what I consider my main character. What all my frustration comes down to is that I know, like many others, that they can do so much better. So much better. Blizzard themselves know that they can do better. They knew this back in 2005, for fuck's sake. Go watch some of the old design philosophy panels from the early BlizzCons, and you'll see what I mean.
Okay, so before we watch this, here's another question that popped up, or that I brought up in a couple of the last streams that I've had. How many of you would like the idea of them coming out? I don't know if any of you played Ultima Online, but there's a server called Siege Perilous, and it would be kind of the same idea in World of Warcraft. If they came out with a new server type, if you don't like the idea, you don't have to fucking play on it. But if you do, you can go play on it. Which essentially, you started off as level 1, and you had to level through all the content the same way that you did as that content existed at the time. So yes, I guess they're sort of doing that now with coming out with vanilla, but I'm talking about like a server now that was 1 to 20, and to level from 1 to 60, you went through all the old vanilla content. Then once you got to 60, you went through all the Burning Crusade content, etc., at the same XP rate that you did back then. And then eventually you would get up to 120. Just to kind of make it a little challenging. If you don't like the idea, you wouldn't have to play on the server. But if you did, you could play on that. Now, it would be a little bit difficult with the way that they handled classes. I would assume that they would probably just leave the classes the way they are now. So, they're not going to make you level as a vanilla druid, for example. You would basically be leveling as a BFA druid, but you'd go through all the old content that you went through before. Anyways, you wouldn't be able to boost on those servers. You wouldn't be able to do any of that. You would actually have to get up to 120.
We also have to give players something to aspire to. There's a lot to be said.
Something to aspire to.
For that moment when you're sitting in Orgrimmar as a newbie.
And this is back in Burning Crusade.
And somebody runs through in like all raid gear and you're like, wow, that guy must be so powerful. Or eBay or something.
And it's not that they can't. They do not want to. At least not the leadership. I think placing the blame on individual developers is a bit off, as they do not.
So yeah, what about if they had that server that I was talking about? They got rid of transmogs. You had to level up from 1 to 120 at the same speed as you did when you went through those individual expansions. There was no transmogs, so once you got... It would be like classic... It would be like vanilla WoW, I don't know how you'd say it. But then once you got to 120, the gear would suddenly matter then, because you'd be looking at people saying, wow, that guy's, finished, exalted, whatever, Alodar or whatever. He's got this level raid set. Like, why can they not have one server type to allow you to do that? Here's a better question. What are five things they could do now to fix current WoW? That server is easier said than done. I don't know. I mean, if they're coming out with classic WoW, I mean, I don't know anything about game development personally, but
not really have any say on the direction of the game.
Wait a second. If they just redesigned all the old zones before Cataclysm, like, you know what? Scrap. Yeah, they would have to redesign the old zones, but after Cataclysm, like, all the zones are basically the same, right? None of the zones have changed since Cataclysm. They'd have all the old quest line. All they'd have to do is change the XP rate. So why is it easier said than done? I don't think it would be that hard to do. Like, they would literally just have to change the XP rate. Right? Why not? Why would they not be able to do that? I would play on that server immediately. I don't even like BFA, but I would switch to that server and I would start leveling like a mofo.
But the leadership and heads of development, on the other hand, they're fair game. It's very easy to see why World of Warcraft grew so much in the beginning. It was the game's philosophy, and the moment that changed, the game started dying. But hey, at least we got Classic.
That was excellent. If you're still here, thanks for the video, man. That was an excellent... When did this guy do this video? January 8th, so it's relatively recent. Dude, you get to subscribe. That was a fantastic video. Oh, Tips says, haven't finished the video, but agree with everything you... Yeah. Tips was answering the Q&A too as well today. I watched a little bit of that before I had to head out. But that was an excellent video. I think I agree with basically just everything that this guy said. The whole philosophy of what Blizzard is doing with World of Warcraft is completely changed, and it has ruined the game for a lot of us. The video was spot on. I agree. I again, that server idea, maybe I'll make a separate video for that, but I don't know why like it would be so difficult for them to come up with like a hardcore server. You know, that's what a lot of people are... This video basically talks about, is how people are pissed off that the video or the game itself is just not... I don't know, it's not satisfying. Like when you finish something and you can brag about it and show it to people and say, hey, I've got this type of armor, or hey, look at that fucking Tauren that's standing in Orgrimmar. Look at the gear that he's got. You know, it means something. Like anyways, That was a fantastic video. Really enjoyed it. So this guy here, Mash, again, I'll link the video in chat if you want to watch the video separately. But that was who the fuck are these 2.6 people? Dude, I'm going to give you a like as well. That was an absolute fantastic video. You've got tips responding. I thought I saw someone else that I recognized here. Maybe I missed it. Anyways, fantastic video. I don't know how many other videos this guy's got, but well done. Very well done. What? Oh no, we're not gonna. All right. Anyways.